Hey guys, this is my second video about Python, and today I'm going to be talking about data types and variables. So last video I talked about print statements and how if you want to print something, you print quotes like that, and it prints whatever you say. Now what I didn't mention, and what I want to talk about now is that this whatever is inside the quote is considered a string. Now a string is just characters, any character on your keyboard that you type that is just surrounded by quotes. Now, it doesn't always have to be double quotes. It can be single quotes. I'm just personally more used to double quotes. It still works. Now, a string is considered a data type and is probably one of the most popular data types. So usually when you want to type words, you use a string. Now, other than string, there is two other data types, one called integers and another called float. Now, integer is just whole numbers, and float is not negative, and floats are decimals essentially. So I print the number 2. This is an integer. If I change it to a decimal, it becomes a float. So those are three just very popular data types. Now I want to talk about variables, which is very important in the world of coding. Now, variables in coding is similar to variables in math, where you get a variable and you assign it a value. However, in Python, your variable it doesn't have to be X, Y, it could be, but in Python, you can be more specific and give it actual names. For example, I'm going to create a variable called food. I'm going to give it the value of pizza, since pizza is a food. Now, since pizza is a word, you want to use a string. So what I did here is that I created a variable called food and assigned it the value of a string pizza. Now let's say I want to print this variable. Print, and you just put the variable name straight in. And if you print, pizza should be printed. Now let's say during your program, you decide that you want to change your value. Instead of pizza for food, maybe you want to switch to tacos. You could just erase pizza and put tacos, but you can just write food and equals and just honestly just put tacos. This essentially gives food a new value, another one. So if you print food again, it's going to print pizza and then tacos. So since I first said food was pizza and then I printed food, it's going to print pizza since that's what food was at that time. However, after that, I decided to change my value of food into tacos. So now when I print this, it's going to print tacos since that's my new value for food. And obviously you can change this as much times as you want. So if I use sushi, and I want to print that, then it should print 3 things: pizza, tacos, and sushi, which it does. Now, so far I've talked about variables with string values. You can also do variables with integers and float values. So let's say I just want to make a variable called age. And give it the value of 15, meaning like my age is 15. So let's say I want to print this exact same way. Print age 15. Obviously you can do the same rule twice, but change your number all of a sudden. 15, 17. So that's pretty simple. And now I want to talk about printing statements with multiple data types in it. So far we've only printed either just strings or just numbers, integers and floats. You can combine the two in one print statement. So for example, let's say I want to say I am 15, but I don't want to just have a string and just straight up write I am 15. Let's say I want to have a string plus a variable. So what I would do here is that first I want to make a variable called age, like I did before. Give it the value of 15 since currently I am 15. So now I want to print, and since I want to say I am first, that's a string. So I'll say I am, and then my string ends because now I want to put in my variable age. Now to do that, you want to put a comma after your string value. And what the comma basically does, it just creates a space. And then you want to put your variable, h. So what should print here is I am, which is a string variable. The comma acts like a space. And then the number 15 should print, since that is my age value. So I print this. Print I am 15. You can also do something else. So for example, let's say I want to do a variable called school. And give it the value of I central. And I want to print I go to, comma, school. Same format. If I print this, I go to I central. So that's how you can put multiple data types into one print statement to make something like that. Now the last thing I want to talk about is restriction for variable names. So throughout this video, all my variable names just have been one word and they'll always start with lowercase. Now, it doesn't have to start with a lowercase every single time. It can be capital, I just prefer lowercase. That's all preference. And another thing is that variables don't always have to be one word. It can be multiple words. However, there is something you need to know if you're going to do more than one word. So let's say I want to do my variable as favorite food instead of just food. Now, if I did this and then put pizza, this won't work. It's going to give you an error. I can show you that. If I do print, put favorite food, and it's going to give me an error. As you can see, it's red, invalid syntax. Now the reason why it does this is because in coding in general, when you want to do a variable with more than one word, you want to connect them with an underline. You can never have spaces in your variables. Never. Now let's say if I put underlines where the spaces were, and now I print it. It prints pizza. So never have spaces in your variable. Another rule is never start your variable with a number. If I do food and give the value of something, this will also give me an error. You can never start a variable with a number. And finally, one last thing. There are certain words that you cannot use as variable names. For example, else. As you can see, it just changed colors. Now, the reason you can't use else is because else is considered, a special. It's a keyword in Python, in the syntax of Python. Else is a keyword and has its own function. So therefore, you can't use else as a variable name since it has its function. It has a function of its own. So those are the three things that to be careful of when you're trying to name a variable. Can't have spaces, no numbers, and there are certain words that you can't use, such as else, because they're keywords and they have their own purpose. Other than that, that's it for the video. So today I talked about data types and how to create variables and how to print and how to have a print statement with more than one data type.